everyone, and I've been having a thought today that I've been having for quite some time. Every time I see certain things happen in the news and everything that I hear from personal testimony and public opinion and personal opinions, and I can't help but just think, is this what they actually mean? And the subject that I'm talking about is, of course, rape culture. Now, I've done one video before about it, but that was in regards to women and how there is no rape culture when it comes to female oppression, patriarchy, all that bullshit. But every time I see men who are victims of rape, victims of sexual assault, abuse, you name it, also boys, we can't forget the boys, I can't help but think maybe there is a rape culture of sorts there. Now, I can't prove it, not really, okay? But I'm going to try and, maybe put forth a hypothesis as to why this may well exist. Although it's really not so much a rape culture as a flawed mentality amongst the population of the world, really. I mean, everywhere you go, there's this whole notion that men can't be raped, or, men want it, they were aroused, they are the men always want it, and let's not forget, it's not just straight men who get raped, it's also gay men, and also, I think I will add lesbian women to this as well, because we never hear about them being raped by women. We always hear them being raped by men. And for the guys, with gay men, it's usually men raping other men and not, women. So, this is how I'm gonna, not argue for a rape culture, but kind of, discuss how it could exist. I'm not 100% sure it does. I'm very on the belief that, no, rape culture doesn't exist. But if you wanted to point towards one that could exist, there's a place to look. So, my first and perhaps most obvious point is boys, and I'm talking about, it depends really on the age of consent, but I'm going to go with the British age of consent, which is 16. Basically, anyone 15 and below, any boy who is, abused, taken advantage of, or now, statutory rape is statutory rape, doesn't matter if it was, consensual or not. So, I'm going to talk about both consensual and non-consensual sex between women and men who are older than those boys, 15 to younger. Now, usually it varies, but there is an acceptance if the guy is as young as 11, as I've seen, and as old as 15 or 16 if you're in America, 17 as well. But let's stick to Britain. So 15, it's considered a woohoo, well done guys, you did it. I wish I could have sex with my teachers. I wish my teachers were that hot. I wish I'd had sex with my teachers who were hot. You're lucky. Every guy wants to get laid. Every straight boy wants all the girls, all the women. And we see time and time again these women who get caught having sex or abusing or molesting these kids. I mean, you only have to look at the story of a former cheerleader who was in her late 40s, I believe, or just around about in the 40s, who got a group of young lads together who happened to be a with her son, got them intoxicated, and then molested one of them. She basically, performed oral sex on him, and he was inebriated and obviously was not in full control of his emotions and his inhibitions. Now remember, the guy was 15, so he's not a drinker at this stage. He's not like someone like me who can handle it, at least to a certain extent, but I can handle it better than him. And he felt, used. He felt molested. He felt as if he was violated, and he pressed charges, and he clearly felt some kind of, hurt involved, psychological damage perhaps. Yet, the response of horny men, and this is mainly, the reason why these people are, and women too, these women too, react the way they do, because the men want to show that, they're into the women, they're really straight, and, we get it, you're straight, you love to have sex with women, we get it, but please stop thinking with your dick, and think with your head, okay? These are kids, these are kids who, maybe they do want it consensually, doesn't change the fact that it's breaking the law. You have to abide by the law. Would you seriously think that your son, who was intoxicated by a woman so she could have sex with him, is okay? That is acceptable. Would you seriously think that something that is basically rape, if we're going by the feminist definition, that drunk people can't consent? Bear in mind, she must have got him so drunk that he couldn't properly consent, or he couldn't do anything because he was so hammered, that he felt violated. You certainly wouldn't feel that way if it was a woman. You would chop off a man's dick off. And I've seen this before. When it's men having sex with underage women, they deserve to die. They need to be locked up forever. Yet when a woman is given, in the rare ever occurrence of getting the just punishment for the crime, and I'm talking about years in prison rather than, the usual community sentence or the community service or suspended sentence and probation, you get in an outcry like it's just sex, they're just boys. Boys will be boys. Boys want sex. Boys want sex as they get older, but the law is the law. And what about the younger kids, 12 to 13, hell, even 11 to 13? They're often being used. They don't understand sex as we understand it. And what gets me is, why is this so acceptable? Why is it acceptable for a younger boy to be with an older woman, but not vice versa? Why can't an old man be with a younger woman? I'm not advocating for it. I'm just posing the rhetorical question. Why? Why is it not seen so badly when it's the woman? Is it an innate sexism within society? I seem to think there is some sexism involved in this line of thinking, or maybe it is just horny people wanting to spread their horniness online and show it to the world. Either way, I don't know. But that's my first example of a rape culture in our society in regards to men and boys, and though that's the boys aspect of it, the younger aspect. That's the non-consensual / statutory rape. But we're non-consensual, that's part one. Now, that was a bit maybe garbled, but okay, let's carry on. My second reason, and I think I'll go with the lesbians and gay men, so the LGBT community. We always hear, lesbians and gay men getting raped by other men. Like, recently I've shown you all once before, but I can't find it anymore, it's gone. My mum, or maybe she got it from the post and put it in this slip, got a poster or a slip, a fly poster that basically had, it was anti-abuse. On the front it had a woman and a man in the bedroom, and it says, "Are you Prince Charming by day?" I'm paraphrasing here. "Are you a control freak by night?" Now, if this was a BDSM advert, it would be a great advert, but that's not what it meant at all. It meant, are you nice to people, to their faces in person in the daytime, and are you in secret and at night opening your true colours to the girl, an abusive piece of shit? And of course it was the man, not the woman. Now, to its credit, it did offer a hotline to men, not just gay men, but to straight men, but one. It was just one, and it was obviously mainly directed towards women and young girls, and boys were usually grouped in with girls, with young people. There were hotlines for young people, and then there would be, and they would also be grouped into religious ones and other things as well. Usually, they would also be brought with their parents as well. Their mothers. LGBT men had their own, but they were also grouped in with lesbians. I can't remember if there was one specifically for gay men, but I can't recall. I don't think there was one. So they could use either the straight one or the... Well, it wasn't really straight, it's just for men, isn't it? Or the LGBT one. And we never talk about gay men getting raped by women, and we never talk about lesbians getting raped by women. I mean, I remember reading that one of the most untold stories about, or at least, tales that's kind of, I wouldn't say it's hushed up, but it's just never talked about, is women raping women and how it's such a big issue in that community. How, so few women are kind of, I don't know, are they just not reporting it, or is it just underreported? It is a big issue there. Whenever it's reported, I've heard people tell me, and I've seen it in the few news articles that I can find, that I've seen on the internet, that it's a big issue. But it's never reported. Why is it never reported? How come we've not had massive exposés on the statistics? I mean, I know rape is hard crime to convict someone of. I nearly said it was impossible. It's not impossible, but we need evidence. Without evidence, it kind of is impossible, I guess. And which is why I would like to say that in regards to statistics, we don't know because we know that very few result in convictions. It's quite a small amount, and some the person are found innocent, but the vast majority we don't know. A feminist would say that they're all guilty. They were rapes that definitely happened, while someone like me, an egalitarian, would say, I don't know. It could have been a rape. It might not have been a rape. It could have been, withdrawal of consent. Or maybe it was lesbians and gay men and straight men who were raped by their partners, male and female with lesbians, and chose not to report it because society wouldn't believe them. Maybe that's why it's not reported, lesbian rape. Because people are less likely to believe a woman that a woman raped the woman, as much as they would disagree and disbelieve a man that he was raped by a woman, especially a gay man. They would say to a gay man, but you're not attracted to women, and they can't rape because rape is, and this is where I'll talk a little bit in a minute, rape is penetration. It says it in the law. So that's the LGBT argument. Gay men getting drugged, or they get too drunk and maybe they pass out, or they're not quite passed out but they can't move, they're paralytic, and the woman mounts him. Bear in mind, it's not hard to get a man aroused. Well, technically aroused. I'm not going to say arousal means that they want it, but I'll get into that later. So who's going to believe him? They'd believe him if a man raped him, even though that's also kind of underreported. We don't usually hear about that, but we hear more about that than women raping. So that's my second reason. Let's move on and talk about straight men. Men this time, so above the age of consent, 16. And it's the same story with the men, but kind of different. In many ways, it's kind of sadder than what young boys get, but I don't want to say it's any worse. It feels like with the boys, these women usually do get caught and they get punished, even if it's not severe at all. At least they're getting punished. For the men, I don't know, but from what I've seen and in my personal experience, they get away with it. The good women, they seem to get away with it. I don't know why. Like I said, I don't know how many women get caught and convicted of rape. I assume it's less than men, but at the same time, the women who are found innocent is also, of a similar to, to the other gender, but less. So the amount reported, we just don't know. Unreported, I mean, we just don't know. And there's a reason for that, and I think it's because society doesn't think women can rape. It's written in law, and this is where I'll explain. It's written in law that rape is forced penetration, when really it shouldn't be. It should be non-consensual sex. You know, it should be a sexual act made on a person that is unconsensual. They do not want it. And the excuses for women can't rape is quite laughable, really. I find it very laughable. I don't like it. I think it is sexist, and it's ignorant, and it's unfounded. So apart from women, it's not, because it's not a penetration. It's the fact that they think that the men must have wanted it because they got an erection. Well, that's victim blaming. You wouldn't say it to a woman. Oh, she was asking for it. She wanted it. All women want sex. That would be horrible. No one would say that unless they were a misogynist or a conservative who didn't know any better. You just wouldn't, would you? You wouldn't say that about a woman, but why is it okay to say about a man? You see, I heard this on a YouTube video a few weeks ago, and I don't know if it was a woman or a man. I think it may have been a woman, and she was talking about how it could have been Karen Strawn, it could have been Karen, or maybe Alison Timon, I'm not sure. And this person talked about how in all rape, men and women, they do get aroused, but not in the way that you think they do. It's a natural reaction. Your body is reacting to what's happening because, as we all know, with the genital organs, there's a nerve or nerves, and that's what makes you have orgasm. It what makes you feel pleasure and or pain, whatever. And your body is naturally reacting to what it knows is a sexual encounter, while your brain is, obviously, alert, panic, It's a horrible, messed up feeling. Not all people are aroused, not all people feel like that, but for some people there are, and apparently it's a very under-researched phenomenon that occurs in sexual assault. So, and I reckon for men it's harder to explain because, a man's penis is not hard to get aroused. In fact, you don't even have to be aroused sexually for it to be erect. It's obvious. Right, this is going to be human male anatomy 101 for people who don't get it. And yeah, no, laugh all you want, but I have to explain it. A man can get an erection just by the vibrations of a car or a train. You can wake up from not having a single sex dream in the entire night, and you'll have an erection for no reason. Even I've heard, stories from parents, even babies, boys get erections. I mean, what are they thinking of? What makes them have one? What makes little toddlers have one? You see, that's how easy it is. You don't have to be sexually aroused or horny to get one, which makes it all the more easier for a girl to rape a man because, he needs to be drugged or inebriated or asleep, and he'll have one, and then she can have her way with him. Usually, the man has to be intoxicated. It is a lot harder to rape a man because of the strength difference. But usually a man, and this is, maybe it's a societal problem. If a man is not necessarily inebriated or drugged, but what does he do? I remember someone I know was on a night out or something, and this woman, he wasn't necessarily drunk that he couldn't walk or he couldn't do anything. He was just with a woman and she was wanking him off. She was, giving him a hand job, but he didn't want it. But what could he do? He couldn't resist. If he pushed her away or, got into a scuffle with her, it would be him who'd be arrested and not her. Because men can't hit women under any circumstances, especially self-defence. You can unless it's plainly obvious she started it and there were witnesses, but as far as I know, there were no witnesses for him. And he felt violated. And he told it me in the pub once, and I was like, you know what, I completely agree with you, I believe you. I'm not surprised that he couldn't fight back. Or now, obviously, he must have got out of it, but I don't. He never told us what exactly happened at the end. All I know is that he was there, and it seems to, it must play on his mind a bit. But anyway, that's it, isn't it? It's the fact that the men were aroused through whatever means or stimulated, and apparently that means it's not rape, and that to me is bullshit. Because men get traumatised over this. Because who do they turn to? Who do they turn to for help? If someone's going to just think, well, you were aroused, you clearly wanted it. Well, no, we didn't. Just because the body reacts in that way to what it should react to, if you were punched in the face, you're obviously going to get a bruise, even if you've lost feeling in your face for whatever reason. Some people can't feel pain, like Kick-Ass. Something happens to your nerves, you can't feel pain, you're still going to bruise, even if you can't feel it. That's a natural reaction to your body receiving something. So, there we go. That's my other reason. The fact that people, just because a man can be aroused, or a woman can be aroused, that it's not rape. Well, that's bullshit. It's obviously bullshit. And I think I have maybe one final point. And I think I might try and brush up on a little bit about societal attitudes and the law. I'll try. I think I had quite a few, but I've since forgotten these points. So I'm going to have to do this one last point and, basically end the video, because it has been going on for quite a while now. So here it goes. I just find it odd that so many people think that male rape and to a lesser extent lesbian rape can't happen, that women can't rape. Well, why? Why can't women rape? Well, there are evil people of all genders, of all shapes and sizes, of all sexualities, of all races. So how come women can't rape? Of course they can rape. Non-consensual sex is non-consensual sex, regardless. Where does this come from? It comes partly from the law, partly from, societal standards and thinking, We've been, I'm not going to say indoctrinated, but we've been taught that, it's men who are the more sexual active, the ones who really want it, the more aggressive ones. And to an extent, we are, aggressive. I think it's not that we are more aggressive than women. We show it differently than women. As Karen Strong said, we are equally as aggressive as each other, only it manifests itself in a different way. And I think men show it more often, but women are as aggressive. Theirs tends to be different. I don't know how it's different, but when I see it, I see it. So, there we go. I think women tend to be more passive-aggressive than men who are more, in-your-face aggressive. So, it's funny because barely 100 years ago, it was the complete opposite. Women were considered to be the most sexually vociferous. I mean, I remember, if you recall hearing early psychologists and Greek, go back even further than 100 years, and they were saying that women were crazy, and they had crazy feelings. If they had the vote, they'd go mad. There's a reason why we have the term hysteria, and hysteria originally was about female sexual deviancy, or at least a disorder, and I think that's Freud came up with it, or at least his school came up with it. And yet, somewhere down the line, that's probably influenced by feminism, it flipped. So now, men are seen as that, and that's not the case. Everyone, unless you're asexual, is as horny as each other. Everyone wants to have sex, okay? It is a drive, it is an animalistic drive, it's how we reproduce, it's how we procreate, for fuck's sake. So, but why is it such a men's problem? Why is it a man's problem? Why is it that because we want sex all the time, which isn't all the time, we don't necessarily want sex all the time, that's stupid. You'd go crazy. I mean, there are some people who do have sex addiction and they have very high libidos, but even then, they probably don't want it all the time. This is sexist stereotyping, and it's not necessarily the fault of some people. I think they're just being brought up to think that way. I remember you hear people being brought up about it. I was taught about it, that I've got to watch myself when I'm in a sexual encounter with a woman because I'm the one who might get more excited. I might not be the most excited one in this party. I've been in those situations where I'm not the one who's as excited as the other person. How come, therefore, men can't be raped? I'm probably going off on one, and I need to get back on point. If I'm not on point, so let's get back on point. So we have these societal outlooks on life, and it's clearly having a detrimental effect on men and lesbian women, and it's not good. There needs to be a change, but I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. Men and women aren't going to say that young boys definitely need help from these paedophiles. These women are paedophiles. This is another problem I just realised. These women are not called the paedophiles that they deserve. These are sexual predators. These are women who become teachers because they need access to young boys and young girls. Here's an interesting thought. What would the parents think if it was a young girl, their daughter, being molested by a young woman or an old woman? Most of them are old anyway. Would it be the girl of their dreams? I mean, just look at a Goodfellas video. With those women, those boys' dreams, most of them are fucking ugly. Seriously. Anyway, I hope I tried to explain that as best as I could. I think I kind of waffled on a bit too long and maybe went off topic a bit. I'm not really good at talking about rape and rape culture, etc. At length, unscripted, but I have to do something. So, in conclusion, I guess it's not really a rape culture, but there's definitely, it's more of a rape culture of the mind, I'd say. It's definitely not set in stone. It's not in law, obviously, so it's not a rape culture. But, on the other hand, it does reflect itself in law somewhat, with the lenient sentencing. Sometimes people get away with it, and by get away with it, it could just mean a suspended sentence, which is a punishment in itself, but or a settlement out of court with the family. And especially get away with it in the eyes and ears of the public. The public think that they did nothing wrong, when obviously they did. It's hard to explain, but there's definitely more of a case there for rape culture than there is against straight white women, or just straight women in general. But anyway, what are your thoughts? I want to know it. This has been CharmingMan93. Like, share the video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you all later.